On this episode of Halftone Takes, we talk about our history as college animation students, the nuances of this fascinating medium. And Adam is a big fucking crybaby who wants to be seen as a well-rounded human being. Wah!
I demand to be taken seriously. Whir.
Welcome to Halftone Takes, high contrast conversations where we zoom out to see the bigger picture. I am one half of the host, Corey Revis, aka The Wrong Trousers, and this...
Hello, I'm your other host, Adam Bucheri, currently possessed by the ghost of Ray Harryhausen, returned from the afterlife, full of unholy wrath about Morbius.
That's a good starter. It's a really good starter.
I will say, hey, it's me, the ghost of Ray Harryhausen. Fucking hate Morbius. Can't wait for Kraven the Hunter. Looking really good. Looking so good.
Are you being facetious right now,
I am the
Mr.
ghost of Ray
Ray
Harryhausen, and I am 100%.
Harryhausen's?
Yeah, that's such a good little reference that they throw in there.
Yeah. Okay. If you know anything about Ray Harryhausen, you know where this is going. So,
if you don't know about Ray Harryhausen, I hope you learn about Ray Harryhausen because he's so cool. We're going to mention him a few times, I'm sure.
You're going to learn today.
Yeah.
You're going to learn today.
Get learned.
Because we are talking about stop motion animation today. Stop motion is howled. Very howled.
Stop motion is an extremely hard art form to perform.
Yes, exactly. That's what I was going for.
Thanks for the visit, Homestar Runner. You can go now.
Oh man, that's a deep cut.
I know.
Anyway. But yes, we are talking about stop motion. It is really cool. It looks really nice, and it's really hard to do. But when it's done well, you can tell. When it's not done well, you still cannot necessarily tell. That's a lot of the hard part.
Can tell how hard it is to do?
Well, when they get it right and when they get it wrong, that's what I mean.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I mean, like all, animation, there is a level of, like, gut reaction where it's like, what's good. Like, even if you don't have the words for it, like, you feel it.
Jersey Adam is back.
Jersey?
That's what you were starting to talk like.
Oh.
You know what's good? Let me tell you what's good.
I'm trapped in these characters of mine.
We all do characters. We all are characters.
Release me, Jersey Palpatine. My dumbest, worst creation.
You need to do more of Jersey Palpatine. I barely hear it. Everybody else hears it, but I barely hear it.
He was real popular in The Office before Rise of Skywalker came out, and then he died, but then somehow he returned.
Yes.
But then he died again, so it's fine.
Oh, is he going to return again?
I hope not.
He'll just take up a new form.
We all pray that Jersey Palpatine will stay in his grave.
Do we?
Yeah.
Do we pray?
Yeah, we do.
Or is that just you?
I mean, I'm the one.
You don't want to be possessed by him, so that makes sense that you just don't want him to come back.
I'm literally like re-upping the seals that keep his power bound
every year.
Constantly. Yeah.
But anyway, yes. So I am asking Adam about some stop motion stuff today, and we're
Stop motion is real neat.
Yep. So I'm gonna ask him about some stuff and things. So the first thing I'm gonna ask him, basically, is where does your stop motion journey begin? Nah.
Thanks for asking. This is, so you told me in the green room, this is a question that you kind of deliberately left open-ended for my interpretation.
Yes.
So I'm going to interpret that as like the start of my relationship with the medium.
Yeah, like the fascination. Like,
yeah.
Like we're both animation, or we were animation students. Well, you never stop being an animation student.
Yeah.
Even as a legend, you never stop learning. So, but enough existentialism. Where did your fascination start? Stuff like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think for most people my age, and for the record, I'm just about to turn 35.
Yeah.
Looking like the guy who drinks from the wrong goblet at the end of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Just, you know,
Without the glasses, yes, you
slowly
do.
withering, just turning to dust. But at that time, you know, really, if you were talking about stop motion, there wasn't a lot that was going on contemporaneously. There was a lot of historical stop motion with especially effects animation, and that was real big. But for my age group, it was The Nightmare Before Christmas, which I'm kind of lukewarm on. It's a
That's fine.
okay movie. It's pretty good. You know, it's pretty good. But like, would I dedicate an entire store in Hot Topic to it? I don't know about that.
Depends. How much money do you really want to make?
Not that much, actually.
Well,
like,
then you wouldn't.
They're very modest.
But I would. I'm lukewarm on that movie too, and I still would do it.
I know. I'm just not that driven by a profit motive. I talk all the time about like, what would I do if I won the lottery? What would I do if I like made it big? And the answer is always like, I would
lose it.
I would just bankroll friends. I would just be like, hey, like, I am your universal basic income. Have some money.
I am your daddy Warbucks.
What
do you
want? Yeah, here I'm just going to like donate $10,000 to your Patreon.
Yeah.
And I don't care what you do with it. Like,
Oh, I thought you were gonna say I don't care how you feel about it. I don't care what you think.
I also don't care about how you feel about it. I'm not asking. I'm just doing it.
Yeah.
But then the other thing I keep saying, which I think I've said on this podcast, is like, I would just personally bankroll Guillermo del Toro's At the Mountains of Madness. That would be very good.
Oh yeah.
With the stipulation that it can't
Yeah.
star Tom Cruise.
I mean, I don't think he would want it to star Tom Cruise, but
That was the original compromises. He was like, it'll star Tom Cruise, and that'll make studios say yes to it. And it's just like, what
True.
a wild choice for that.
I mean, he's smart. He at least knows the business well enough that he's like, I want it made. This is how I get it made. So-
Actually, like, I genuinely respect that about Mr. Del Toro, that he's like very in tune with the realities of filmmaking and not just like he would rather do it than not be able
to do it at all. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You know, he's not a perfectionist and he's not precious in that way. He just wants to create. Love that about him. That's why he's deserving. That's why he's worthy of inheriting my chocolate factory.
We're gonna talk about him later. Don't worry about it. We're gonna talk about him later.
Yeah. So Nightmare Before Christmas was probably like the first real exposure where I'm just like, you know, aware of the medium. And tying into a previous episode that I just edited with us talking about how the sausage was made, I remember seeing some behind the scenes about that and being like, man, those puppets are really cool. Man, those sets are really cool. Because something that I love about stop motion is often all the sets have to be modular because they need ways to remove parts of the set so that human beings can actually get in there and do their job.
Yeah.
It's really cool. Like, all of the logistics of stop motion, I think, are really neat.
Yep.
And I was pretty into them from a young age. But just like the rest of my animation journey, it didn't really coalesce until I got to college and started like taking it seriously as a art form. Because our main animation teacher, we had like two main animation teachers, but the one that I had a closer relationship with was Brad. Shout out to Brad.
Bradioso.
Brad, good teacher. Big fan of Brad. But he was a stop motion animator by trade for a good number of years before he pivoted to education. And
the stories he told.
I know. He was really great because the other teacher that we had was a ex-Disney alumni.
Oh, Gens. I was more close to Gens. So.
Yeah. Michael Gens was a ex-Disney animator. He worked on Hercules. He worked on The Lion King. In many ways, he was like, oh, that's the dream. That's what I want to do. That's what I want to be. And he was like, it was a real like Junji Ito, Hayao Miyazaki situation.
I know.
Michael Gens was such a cranky old.
he kind of was that. He kind of was there at that point. Like he was like, oh, it's too hard. I don't know how he is now. But definitely Brad was more of the fun guy who liked to laugh and definitely loved to. Like, okay, a peek into the animation student scene, like, every week or whatever, I don't know how, the time frame, but we would have to turn in, like, progress reports, basically, and just scenes and stuff that we would be animating. Long hours, and I'm talking really long hours, because we were in a traditional animation setting, so we had to be in the lab.
Lots of overnights in the animation lab. I slept on that couch a lot.
Yeah, and there was a couch down there. I don't know what's down there now, but they were going through a transitional period, but we had a lot of fun down there. All the animation students had fun down there. I remember doing a very pseudo stop motion live action video. Remember me and you did that at the Mortal Kombat thing?
Yeah, that was really fun. So that was a early college project. We said this in the very first episode, but let's be real. The first episode download numbers are not very high. So
go watch the first episode. Pump those numbers up.
It's an okay episode, but our secret origin, the way that we first met was that we were both in the same animation program and we were randomly assigned to the same dorm. So for our freshman year, we were in the same dorm room together and just hung out and just became quick friends. With animation as our shared interest. And I don't remember where I was going with that sentence.
No. You talking about the Mortal Kombat-esque live action project? Yeah.
So that's called pixelation. Like people talk about animation in these buckets where you're talking about traditional animation, digital animation, CGI animation, but there's a bunch of like weird ones that most people haven't heard about. And pixelation is basically making a stop motion animation using humans as puppets. So you take a frame, the actors adjust very slightly for the next frame, you take that next frame, and then you act out a stop motion film in that way.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting process, and it's not done very often. I think Sesame Street is the most common example.
Yeah, they do that quite a bit.
So we did just like a little Mortal Kombat fight scene because like Mortal Kombat, like the original Mortal Kombat for arcades, basically was pixelation animation. Like that was the style of animation that was being done there, where it's these live action people being posed and then manipulated like little puppets. So it seemed like a really good fit. And it was dumb and it was bad, but who cares? Like it was us, taking our first steps into the medium, which is really cool.
If I can, I might actually still have it, believe it or not.
God.
So if I can find it, I'll post it on the Instagram.
Yeah. Oh, that's something new too. I think since the last time we recorded, we officially have a Instagram for the show.
Yes.
So go check it out if you haven't. We're putting little Easter eggs and little bits from our history. Corey has a picture of his Heyman notebooks.
The Heyman notebook.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. So we are definitely. If you definitely listen to the episodes, I'm definitely you'll get all the goodies we might talk about. So always I guess as a game that people can play is like listen to the episode, see what would be posted, what Easter eggs would be actually posted onto the Instagram. I kind of gave it away that if I find that video, I'm going to post that video on Instagram. But yeah.
And there is an ARG And if you are able to solve our riddle, we will give you enough money in order to fund At the Mountains of Madness, directed by Guillermo del Toro.
I thought you were going to say, if you do solve the riddle, you can give us money at halftonetakes@gmail.com.
If you solve the riddle, you will have the privilege of setting us up a Patreon.
Yeah.
But no, I did like that gasp of recognition because like you just like unlocked. I think I have a different YouTube channel somewhere on the internet that has my old student animations uploaded.
Yeah,
on it.
I think I do too, somewhere.
That would be fascinating to post. They're bad. They're all bad.
Oh,
but like
mine are bad. Like, mine are really bad. Adam's are decent. Mine are bad. Looking back, I was like, what was I thinking? I could do so much better. People are doing all kinds of craziness. And I was like, why is mine just looking like 10 and 2? I was like, oh, I don't like this. No dynamic. Now, you have to understand, Adam, like back then, that's what kind of we were defined as. Not defined as, but me and Adam as a group, as a team. Adam was more of the subtle, emotional animator. I was more of the action, punchy, kicky, jumpy type thing.
Yeah.
And we both did our stuff like pretty well. Like, cause I started to lean in obviously into more of my thing, and Adam definitely leaned into more of his thing. And which is why I keep saying, imagine if we were together, we would literally create something like Spider-Verse.
Bro,
But, yeah.
imagine if we were together.
We're Phil and Lord. We're Miller and Lord. That's who we are.
I was trying to turn it into a marriage proposal right
Oh
there.
yeah, I know what you were doing, but
No.
well, I already tried this like years ago, and Leanne said no. So
It's a real situation of like, hi, I'm Adam. This is, hi, my name is Leanne. This is my husband, Adam. And then this is his husband, Corey. Like,
not mine, his.
yeah. Exactly.
I didn't choose him.
So that's a little bit of context around this animation program that we're in. So we're learning animation. We're starting to develop skills. We're just dipping our toes into the medium.
Yes.
And one of our two teachers was Brad, who was a stop motion animator and is really passionate about it. He just really loved the physicality of stop motion. And when we were first starting with him, he was in the middle of making a big stop motion short.
Oh
film,
yeah.
which was called
I don't know.
something.
I have it. I know I have it. I'm pretty sure.
I know. Like, I could like quote the entire thing from memory. Like,
Oh yeah, because he was we knew, all of his students knew.
Yeah.
That's all we knew about.
yeah, we saw a lot of it. We got to, be
At the
not
technical
involved with that
premiere.
one, but we were involved with his next short, which
Yeah.
was cool. But yeah, like a lot of good lessons from that, and just seeing him so enamored with the process and seeing him talk about how cool puppets are and bringing in puppets and showing them off. And
And also what he used to work on. Like, he used to actually legitimately work on like TV shows. Like, if anybody remembers the PJs, he used to work on that. There was that famous scene he showed us.
pretty good show.
Yeah, that's the famous scene he showed us that he animated. I think it was like the one where the main character took like acid, remember?
Oh no
Like
no! You're getting that confused. That was a
wait.
different show.
That was a different show. I'm sorry. What show was that? Oh man.
Oh, it was like MTV. I'm gonna drop it. Yeah. So what you're referencing is from the Adult Swim animated show. I just had to cut out several minutes of looking it up because it's such a Teflon name. I could not remember.
Yeah.
The animated show is called Gary and Mike.
Yeah, that's the
And-
one.
That was something that he worked on. But the sequence that you're talking about in general is like a real mind-bending
Yeah.
moment in stop motion where, again, I'm talking about these like different weirdo sub-disciplines
Yeah.
within it. a subdiscipline similar to how like metal bending is a subdiscipline of
Earth
earth
bending.
bending. Strata cut animation is a subdiscipline of stop motion animation, and it is so fascinating. It is like you should look it up, audience members at home. If you've never seen it, if you don't know what these words mean, look up the music video for "Big Time" by Peter Gabriel.
Ooh, okay.
Which is kind of the most famous use of it. Basically, there's one person on Earth who does this work. And what it is I need you to imagine a 2D animated image, okay? And it's made out of clay. But the way that it's animated is that it's a physical object. Okay? Let me start again. Imagine, if you will, a log of clay.
I was just about to say that. Like, just say a tree. Like,
It's a log of clay. It's, a 12-inch by 12-inch square that's stretched out 10 feet long. And when you slice it, like an MRI, you're going through layer by layer, and the image changes as you cut each layer. And each layer, the clay is sculpted into an image, which means that you are dealing with an animation that has 3 dimensions. It's a physical brick of clay, and it has X and Y, which are the frame of the camera, and then the Z axis, the depth axis, is time. And you are slicing individual frames off of this log. And again, similar to an MRI, just like going through deeper. This man has sculpted this 10-foot, 12-foot log of clay to move in a coherent way as you go through all of those layers. So he's physically making a 3-dimensional sculpture with one of the axes being time. And
basically, he created an entire scene in 3D space that he can carry around and everything.
Yeah. So absolutely wild stuff. There's really like only one guy on planet Earth who does this, who thinks like this.
Yeah. Because it's literally, I don't know how to do that. I know how it's done, but I don't know how to do that. So, yeah.
Imagine your hand and then move it like from left to right. And then imagine every step of the way, every part of it that it has been as like a single extruded piece of clay of like the tunnel that your hand traveled through.
Yeah. It's mind bending.
Yeah, it really starts wrinkling your brain pretty fast.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So, in his office, if you'd come to visit him, because he was also my like student advisor. So I'd come to visit him, and he would have this framed 1-inch thick slab of clay with a single quote unquote frame of this physical log that was there. And I mean, I remember just thinking that was like the coolest thing, like as a souvenir from a show. That's just really unique and really cool.
Yeah, it's because I've been to his office. He wasn't my advisor, but I've been to his office. Like, we've all been, like, all of his students were at his office at some point. But yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Very much so.
I was going to say the kind of crazy amount of knowledge he had about just stop motion in general and just how that stuff works. And the fascination, because he was an animation student and he got his degree, and then he went to get his master's specifically in stop motion.
Yeah.
So the
point that I'm slouching towards is that, like, getting exposed to all of this in college, like, you have the artists, and artists come in all stripes, but like animators are a real weird bunch, even within the artists. And within the category of animators, stop motion is a real weird bunch within the animation crowd. Like, shout out to personal friend Timon. Love Timon.
Oh man, yeah.
Yep. Crashed on his couch for a few weeks in LA. Great dude.
Really
Absolute
weird.
party animal. Super fucking weird guy in a way that like I wouldn't trade for anything
Oh no,
in the world.
he was brilliant in a way that nobody else was.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny? Just thinking about that, just as a small tangent, just thinking back to our animation, just our specific animation class, we all had something that we were really good at. If you think about it, we all had something
Yeah, absolutely.
like that we were just like, okay, this is what this person is about. This is what this person is about. And I was like, that's kind of cool to me. I was like,
It's extremely cool.
yeah, like Brad knew this because he would always laugh at my short like animation stuff because it was so crazy. He's like, I don't know what this is, but it's funny and I love it. Because I was like the action guy. I wanted to do all of those types of action scenes and stuff like that.
You weren't like, you were the action guy, but you were also just like the big broad motion guy. Like you did like, you were dabbling in rubber hose. You had like a real kind of Chuck Jones sensibility to a lot of the stuff. You wanted to go big.
Yeah, and that's more of like a see that Adam knew. Like he could basically specify it. Like, I was definitely more of like that kind of guy of I can do your action scenes. I don't know. I'm not really good at slowing everything down. That was more of Adam because Adam got a lot of like the slow, let me pick up this rock. How do we pick up this rock in a meaningful way type thing, which is important in animation. I would just skip. I just skip over the rock and say, where is the rock going? Yeah. Throw it.
Yeah.
So
super fun to see like the different approaches, the different philosophies that people would bring. I love like there are student films from that like still stick with me that I'm just like, hell yeah. Frank making T-Rex jet. Love T-Rex jet.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Extreme Calvin and Hobbes energy.
Oh yeah.
And then another one of the people who was in our class, I think he was a little bit ahead of us, like a year or two ahead of us, was Z Bashu.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
Basically emerged fully formed.
Yeah.
And like he had a very distinct style, he had a very distinct voice, and now is a famous internet YouTubeman who does little shorts for Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, I've seen that, which is actually really funny.
His work is great, and I am like,
we know him.
I know him. I'm constantly thrilled at his success, and I drop like little like. Actually, I went to college with that guy. It's pretty cool.
It's kind of a big deal. I'm kind of a big deal because he's kind of a big deal. So we're both kind of a big deal.
I'm a big deal by association. That's how this works. But like, I Patreoned him like, as soon as I found out. I just thought it was super cool. Wanted to support him. And then I've been delighted to see his continued success. So
yeah, some of us made it. Some of us actually went hard. So that's really cool to see. So we are not. Animation is not a hating bunch.
I really firmly believe that a rising tide lifts all ships, and that I always celebrate the success of.
I used to be. Well, not used to be, but because I'm a human being, so obviously when I saw Spider-Verse and how crazy that is, and I loved it, but I was like, everybody else isn't allowed to love this because this is what I lived and breathed my entire life. That was my reaction for literally 2 seconds, and then I was realizing, wait a minute. This is what I've been wanting to do in terms of like craziness, and it's by two of my favorite like artists, like directors out there. I mean, they produced the movie, I think. They didn't direct it this time.
You're talking about Miller and Lord.
Yeah. They are me. That's what I wanted to do. And I was like, oh my goodness, it's happening. Oh man, if I had this brain when I was like, 10 years ago or something, I would have made something of myself. But instead, I'm taking the long way around. But it's fine because at least I'm still walking.
Yeah. Celebrate all those successes. in school, stop motion, getting exposed to those people, all of that was really fascinating. And then while we were in school, Leica made their debut.
Oh, yeah.
And what previously had been like, you got The Nightmare Before Christmas, and then you might have something else. You have the very middling Corpse Bride.
Oh, well, I mean, let's go even farther back, like Rankin Bass stuff. Like,
sure. I'm talking about like what was contemporary at the time.
Oh,
like,
okay, contemporary.
Like, there's tons of stuff in the deep past. But like there wasn't a lot of stop motion that was happening contemporary.
Contemporarily.
Until Leica came onto the scene, and I think that really marked a really pivotal moment. Coraline came out and
Henry Selick
absolutely blew my socks off. Yes, director Henry Selick, the same director as The Nightmare Before Christmas, did not. I feel like that fact has like finally gotten into people's heads in recent years that Henry Selick directed Nightmare Before Christmas and not Tim Burton. But like,
I don't know why they thought that. Yeah, it's Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas, which means he had a hand in writing it. But
yeah, I mean, it's his art direction. He was the producer and he was heavily involved. But like, it's Henry Selick's movie.
Yeah, that's Henry Selick's movie. Exactly.
Yeah. And Coraline came out, and I think that's Henry Selick's best work. Mm-hmm. I think it's just a staggering technical achievement. There are like 4 scenes in that movie that like still to this day, I'm like, I don't know how they did that. Is
it one
crazy.
of them the mice scene?
Of course one of them's the mice scene.
Of course one of them's the mice scene.
Oh, that's so cool. I talk about this in the How the Sausage is Made episode, which you should go listen to because I think that's a good episode. But the post-credits of Leica movies, instead of teasing anything or doing anything else, just being behind the scenes, showing how they did it, showing that like the process that they used to create this art is the coolest process in cinema.
And also like the most arduous process.
Incredibly arduous. But like, yeah, seeing those rigs for the mice dream sequence, which like the mice are like these little paper cutouts on these like long ribbons and they dance and weave and twirl in midair. And it's all done with these like complicated rigs that are the rigs are erased in post-processing. Like that's like it's computer assisted in that way, but the mice are all physical, they're real, and they're animated absolutely gorgeously. And it's like the several different rigs that they show being used for that are so crazy.
Yeah.
Incredibly cool. Even seeing it be done, I don't know how they did it.
Patience. That's one big thing that like animators have patience in the first place, because you're working on one thing over years. And imagine doing comedy in animation. You have to see the same joke.
Yeah.
And I mean I've watched people like talk about and I've talked about myself like an animated movie called Mitchell's versus the Machines, and they talk about that. It's like how that movie has some comedic gold in it, like that's evergreen. It's so good, and yet I'm like, I couldn't possibly work on something for years, seeing the same joke, and it still be funny and everything like that. Now imagine you doing that in stop motion, which is even more of like, this is gonna be slow. It's gonna be good, but it's gonna be slow.
So the normal animation process, when we were learning it, it's probably been streamlined and they don't do it the way that
it's more of a digital thing now.
It's not as analog as it was. But when we were doing it, it was a real thing of like, you have a sentence and the sentence is, you want me to do what? And while you're doing that, you're like, okay, I've got my manual like Excel spreadsheet. It's called a dope sheet that you use for tracking time. And it's like, I'm going to break down the phonemes. And it's like, you want me to do what? And the first one was like, you. It's like, is that like a Y or is that like a W?
Yeah.
Like, what's the mouth shape for
Yeah,
this? How do I sell it correctly? You want okay, so it's like we're going straight from like
Yeah.
a O, it's like a closed mouth to an open, like you want, and you're listening to that a million fucking times.
Oh, and you're also sounding it out with your mouth, and you're also putting. It's also an expression thing too, because you have to think about expressions. Because it could be you wanted me to do what, which is like really quick, so the mouth barely moves. But if it's exaggerated in a certain way due to certain emotions, you have to make that. Because as you were doing that, I was doing that in my head. I was going, "You want?" Because I was like, "You want me to do what?" Like that. I was moving my head how I would animate that, and that's how you get different styles of animation. That's how you kind of know who animates what, because they do certain things the same.
Now, they'll have like little tells.
Yeah.
But like we're using our voice to like exaggerate and like emphasize those differences. But what we're talking about is taking the same audio line and interpreting it differently and animating to it differently. And there's a lot of creative choices that go into how you want it to ultimately be expressed. And that like laborious time of thinking about every syllable and every phoneme, and it's just like, well, they kind of slur this word together, so like this one's gonna get cut out, and we're going to go like from here to here. How much can you get away with? How much can you cheat? Like you're doing that thought process for every mouth shape, for every movement, for every step, for every twist of the body, for every blink.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like,
and amp that up to 11 with stop motion.
And in stop motion, you have to figure that all out before you start.
Yeah.
And you have to have a plan, and you have to have it mapped out, because you're going to forget where you are. And you need to be able to trust the map that you make. And then you have to do it meticulously, one frame at a time. And then when you're reviewing the footage, if at any point a light has changed, if you've bumped the camera, or if you just don't like the performance, you gotta throw the entire thing in the garbage and start over. There's no way to go back to a previous point. You can't reset. You have to start and then go
just shoot it again
through the whole process for the entire scene.
Yep.
And that is so fucking crazy.
Heaven help you if it's not just two people talking. If it's an action scene or some crazy movement, or like I will talk a little bit later with like one of my favorites, Paranorman, where they're adding stop motion, like electricity and like magic and visual effects and stuff, like special effects flashing around. I'm always amazed by that.
Leica has a commitment to the physical, tangible elements. They'll composite them together. They'll use digital compositing in order to create a more complete shot, but within that compositing, every single element is physically shot. So they have to figure out what's a way that we can animate lightning. And I want everyone to stop and think about how the fuck you do that.
And then I'm like, this way, LOL. And I'm like, oh, that's so good. I can't say enough good things about that. But anyway.
I mean, it's a staggering achievement. Like one of the other ones in Coraline that like I can't get over and I can't figure out how to do. Not really spoilers for Coraline, just like context. But it does happen during the finale. And in the finale, Coraline is dealing with the other mother who has taken on this monstrous kind of insect-like quality. There's a spideriness to her. And she does something in order to get her mad, and the other mother stomps the floor, and the floor collapses into this like twisting spider web.
Oh, yeah. I remember that part.
The physics of how that thing drops, the wobble, the way that everything moves, how could you do that?
Yeah,
how could you break
kind
that
of
down
insane.
frame by frame and figure out all the ways that this single contiguous wibbly wobbly thing is
Yeah.
going to fall and bounce and settle in a realistic way while
Yeah.
also having a character who has to deliver a performance on that object falling and tumbling and catching herself, and then her weight pulling on that and adding to the physics and
You got one thing wrong with that. You said character. Characters. Two different characters
oh my
that
god
are acting at each other, but also with the actual, like,
Yeah.
environment. It is, I mean, that's fun to animate just traditionally,
yeah
but doing that in stop motion, it's like Adam said, it's like kind of like, okay, how are they doing this again? You have to think about it. And that's the cool thing about it. In my opinion, this is the cool thing about stop motion. And I'm gonna let you go get back to Adam, but the cool thing about stop motion, in my opinion, one of the coolest things, is the fact that they're doing stuff that you kind of don't know how it's done.
yeah
Because everything's physical.
yeah
Everything is made. Everything is physical. And with animation, the traditional 2D style animation, a lot of stuff is really cool. But even like Spider-Verse, where the craziness that goes on, it's all still drawn. It's all still, animated in, a pseudo digital style thing. Now they're doing some crazy stuff. If you've seen the new movie, like just look at Spider-Punk.
I don't know.
What?
Fuck, they did Spider-Punk. That breaks my brain in exactly the same way, where I'm just like, I have
I mean,
no
I know
idea.
how you guys did it, but I don't believe you did it that way.
It's
I don't
crazy.
believe it.
Yeah.
But you still kind of know. You're still like, that's just a lot. But with stop motion, it's literally like, okay, how did you rig that? How did you actually get that to work? And it looks good. It looks like
It's
phenomenal.
so cool. Like the process of it. Like it's the coolest art,
Yeah.
kind of full stop. Like the problem solving that goes into stop motion is like so cool.
It's the coolest art, but it's one of the hardest arts ever.
Oh yeah,
I couldn't do this.
Incredibly difficult stuff.
I would love to do it. I will tell you that might be a bonus thing at the end of this, but
I would love to get paid to learn how to do it.
Man.
But I don't know how I would ever like.
Well, it's funny.
There's such a in the production of stop motion animation, it really weirdly all of the animation processes cost kind of about the same. Like whether you're talking about traditional animation or CGI animation or stop motion, like it feels like people are just like, oh well, of course they use CGI because it's cheap and easy. And it's just like, nah, bro.
No.
Like, have you seen Pixar budgets? They're grotesque.
Yeah.
Those are $200+ million productions. Those are not cheap to do. They like traditional animation is slow and expensive, but like all animation is slow and expensive.
Yeah.
The difference is that in CGI animation, you're working on a shot and then, someone's looking over your shoulder and it's like, so they give this like glance, they like do a little side eye real quick. I think I would like it to be like a quarter second longer. It's not quite reading as well as it could. And then the animator's like, okay, that's pretty easy. They opened up the file and they make an adjustment and then they're able to send it back for dailies. And, that's able to get reincorporated. The difference with stop motion is that level of commitment. Like you have to be totally confident that what you're making is correct, because if you need to redo something, you have to redo the whole fucking thing.
And everybody has, and all that implies with everybody, you're not just doing, it's not just you working on one shot.
Yeah.
It's like 20 people working. I don't know if it's 20 people, but it's definitely more than, two.
More than any other animation thing. I would say that there's an argument that like stop motion is the most solo. Like a lot of them, it is one person, which is
really,
like which is wild. But like this is the life of a stop motion animator.
Why I said that is because I've seen a lot of stuff where I've seen a lot of, maybe it's just like the false information that I'm getting when I watch like
Yeah.
behind the scenes stuff for like Leica, because they have so much behind the scenes stuff. It's
Right.
stupid. But I see like one person working on like a character,
Yeah.
but then I see like a whole bunch of people working on like an entire giant scene. So is it just me, or is it just like, no, that's just like they're setting up for that person to kind of run through the scene?
I think that like what you're talking about is just like the crazy complicated shots. Like we'll have more people involved with them.
Okay, yeah, maybe that's what I'm just remembering and looking at, is like the complicated stuff is always the cool thing,
Yeah.
I guess, to me. So it's like, okay.
But compared to like CGI, where it's, you know, you have an animator working on stuff, but you can pass the project file
Yeah.
to another person, or, you know,
Like
you're
one
going
person
to
is
do.
working on hair, one person is working on eyes, one
That's the
person
other
is working
thing is
on
like
yeah.
the passes, where like one person will do one job and then the other person will come in and do physics simulation and another person will come in and do
Yeah.
lighting, and they all have their specific disciplines. More and obviously, like, yes, there are situations where you're going to have more people, especially for big, crazy, complicated shots,
Yeah.
which Leica is kind of famous for. But for a lot of stuff, if it's dialogue, if it's like, you know, something more not bombastic, it'll just be one, maybe two people.
Mhm.
And what happens is that you've got like the environment artists come in and they make the set and they set everything up the way they need to. You've got like people who do the lighting. They've got all of the rigs and tools that the people need.
Mhm.
And it's like in cooking, the mise en place, like everything in its place. All the vegetables are prepped. They're all in their little bowls. The sauces are made.
Yes.
All the ingredients are laid out. And then the stop motion guy comes in, your animator comes in, and it's just like, great, we've set this up. The lighting is exactly how it's going to be. The camera has a pre-programmed movement.
Mhm.
You're going we're going to lock you in a room for a week. Like you come in,
Yeah.
you come into a room where the lighting never changes, where there's no fans doing a breeze because that
Yeah.
could disrupt things, where like everything is as static and in stasis as possible. And you come in and you put in your hours
You go to
moving
work.
that thing
Yep.
one frame at a time, and then you go home and then you come back and you do it again.
Do it again.
And
Yep.
you just like this incredibly repetitive art form where you are just moving everything in these absolutely minuscule increments.
It's funny because you're kind of watching the film in slow motion,
Absolutely.
because that's how that's how you see it. You see the entire scene in slow motion.
Mhm.
Then scenes stack up, and then you're like, wow, I've seen this entire movie in like half speed.
Oh, I mean, not half speed, like one
Like,
1,000.
1,000 of speed.
You know, you have to be thinking about like the character needs to walk from here to here and give someone a piece of paper. And it's like you need to think about every footfall. You
Yep.
need to think about every bit of acting, every
I was
glance,
about to say
every
every
blink,
bit of acting,
every
like,
face change.
Yep.
Like and those all like it's so meticulous. It's so involved.
yep,
It is a madness that anyone does
it's
it.
madness.
And the fact that we have, you know, as many movies as we do is incredible.
And there are more coming. What I want to do, because we're kind of in like the industry part of the conversation now, I want to ask you really quick, because we did go on Henry Selick, but I do want to talk a little bit about something that we haven't really talked about. Let's talk about Aardman.
Yay! I love art.
Claymation, which is still stop motion, but claymation is stop motion on expert mode.
So again, subdisciplines, you know, disciplines within disciplines. People will like sometimes use the term claymation and stop motion interchangeably.
yeah,
They are not interchangeable.
they're not the same.
Actually, like true claymation is a very specific thing that only a handful of people ever did, and it was a pain in the ass and it didn't look that great. It is interesting. You can get
Yeah.
different results from it, but not that many people do it. What Aardman Animation does is kind of a hybrid approach where there is malleable
Yeah.
clay for the heads and faces, but there's also a lot more skeleton and rig.
Yeah, there's
in
a
there.
rig in there. Yeah.
I don't entirely understand how it works. Again, it's all black magic, but
Yeah.
like incredibly cool stuff. So if you're not familiar with Aardman Animation, they're the people who do Wallace and Gromit. They made Chicken Run. They do Shaun the Sheep.
Yep. Which is actually very good.
It's great. I have seen Shaun the Sheep in Farmageddon twice.
awesome.
That
It is
movie-
awesome, isn't
Movie
it?
kicks ass. It totally rules.
It's surprisingly really good.
It's like genuinely laugh out loud funny like many times over.
And I think that's what Aardman does very well, very, very well, is comedy in stop motion, on purpose. And they make comedy movies. Leica makes a lot of like just stories, which are good. They're just films, and they're great. They have comedy in them. Aardman does a lot of straight up comedy.
Yeah. Aardman has a distinct British sense of humor,
Sensibility.
but like it's not like the Monty Python British sense of humor because it's very visual. There's a lot of gags. There's a lot of like Chuck Jones and Looney Tunes
Yeah.
energy to it. Curse of the Were-Rabbit, hysterical movie. Very.
I was
very
just
funny.
thinking about that. Because remember when going back to Brad when we watched that in our class, and he was going through a lot of like the acting, because he was talking about acting and comedic timing in stop motion, and I just remember us all cracking up because he would freeze frame through some of the stuff. And I don't know if you remember this, but remember when he was going through like the one scene where like I think it was the mayor or something, and they just like acting like this, and then they turn around and their eyes like it's like the were-rabbit, and he turns around and he freeze frame through that entire scene, that entire motion, and he's like, look how their eyes go up, and then he would just start cracking up. He's like, look how their eyes go up, because when you turn around in a dramatic way, it's like that, and then you do the big motion. I don't know if you remember that, but I never forgot that because I always thought that was funny. Just as funny as he thought it was funny.
No, I have very distinct memories of him talking about that like town hall like emergency meeting
exactly.
scene.
Yeah, that.
Which is wild. Like, you know, we're this far removed from college and we're both talking about like, oh, remember that specific class? Yeah, of course I do.
Yeah, because it was. I mean, that was the time, man.
It was
that
good.
was the time.
He's a good teacher.
Yeah, but because like I said, or not like I said, like you said, because it's the more I think about it, the more it's like completely true. He is like Junji Ito, and my kids, and Mike is like definitely more Miyazaki.
Okay, for context, if you're unfamiliar with that, the running joke is that Hayao Miyazaki of Studio Ghibli makes My Neighbor Totoro and Howl's Moving Castle and all of these beautiful, whimsical, lovely films, and he's just a real cantankerous old man. Just a real, like...
Life is pain.
And then Junji
Animation
Ito...
was a mistake.
Junji Ito, famous horror manga artist, who does really wonderful, grotesque, awful
it's
comics.
awful stuff. It's awful stuff.
He's just like, I'm just
bro.
extremely well adjusted and I love my cat.
He's like, he's such a bro. He's like always laughing, always smiling.
Loves to vibe. He's great. So what we're saying is that Brad Patullo was just always this like happy-go-lucky, big smile on his face while describing working on Celebrity Deathmatch and animating, people getting their guts pulled out arm over arm. And then Michael Gens is this ex-Disney animator who worked on, this beautiful scenes.
Like
and,
Lion King, like the lion running Lion King.
The slow motion, like lion running as he's returning to Pride Rock, like really great sequence. That's him.
Yeah.
And he's just this real, like, crotchety old man.
He's like, I'm tired. I'm just tired.
I have very distinct memories of him. Like, I think that, like, ultimately, he was a very good teacher, and I would appreciate him more now.
Oh, yeah.
But he was so blunt because
Oh,
I
yeah.
have very distinct memories of like someone showing off their like weekly work and him just like being real quiet and just being like, so
Tear it. He rip into it.
do you want to be an animator? And it's like, damn, fuck, Jesus, man, harsh.
I remember that.
Yeah, he did not say that to me.
No,
But-
I remember him saying stuff like that all the
Yeah.
time because he would just sit there and then he'd just be like,
He's
like without saying I hate this, he would be like,
yeah.
I don't know how to feel about this, and I don't know how you should feel about it.
No
You should- but you
criticism for
should-
today.
Yeah, but you shouldn't feel good about it. And meanwhile, we're as students, we're looking at this is from some of our best like peers. Like they're doing they're doing real good work, and he's just like, mm-hmm. And I was like, aw. Now, mind you, like I said, we're getting on him. He was excellent. He knew exactly what he was doing.
Of
He
course
knew
he
about excellence.
We were letting
And-
him down. Let's be clear.
Yeah. I mean, we were letting Brad down a lot too, but
We
his
sure were.
and his like expression, he would always say, and I think you know what he would always say to us, guys, you're killing me.
Oh, I'm
killing me.
literally having a heart attack right
Yeah,
now.
you're killing me, guys. I'm having a heart attack right now, and I'm dying.
To this day, he had a self-insert character in that short film that we were talking about.
Oh yeah.
And that character like is a cartoonishly, exaggerated hard-ass version of himself. And there's a couple of interns who are the short film is about the making of a stop-motion animated film.
Yes.
So it's very meta. But he's talking about it, and he's talking to some interns. He's just like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm too busy animating to have
Yeah,
personal
that was-
style.
That was the whole joke. I forgot about.
Like, I love that. I still quote that to this day. It's like, I'm too busy animating to have a personal style.
I wonder if that's on YouTube somewhere.
I'm certain it is. I just have to stop being such an idiot and remember what it's called.
Yeah. I mean, I'll remember it at some point. I mean,
know.
we could definitely, if he still works there, we could definitely just ask him.
What am I talking about? I got IMDb. I'll look that up.
Look it up. Look it up.
Oh my god, I'm such a dumbass. The short film is called 24 Frames. Dedoy.
I remember. I bought it. I have it. It's in my my movie rack, which is more of a movie shelf, but it's a movie rack. But yeah.
Indeed. He's made quite a few shorts that I haven't seen. I gotta go and catch up on his work.
Yeah, we-
Polybius is done.
Yeah, we definitely have to. We
Yeah.
both have to do that.
Multiple award winner, Brad Patullo.
Yay!
does
Shout
good work.
out to him. We're doing a huge shout out to both, like, to our animation like professors and everything like that. Shout out to Edinburgh University. You used to be that place for like animation and history, and now you're just a nursing school and
I don't
nobody
know
likes you.
what. Look, I think that I ended up ultimately having a pretty good education there. Woefully unprepared for the job market. Absolutely.
I think all of us were, except for like a select few of us that were just phenomenally good. But
Yeah.
that wasn't us.
moving to Los Angeles and beating feet and trying to shake hands and look someone in the eye and say, "Yes, sir, I'm your man." Boy, did that not fucking work at
Yeah.
all. And like, I
yeah.
get it. Part of it is that I wasn't good enough. Like that's just true. That's not me, being down on myself. Like I wasn't ready for that scene. But like, I don't know. I
Well, we
would have
were-
liked for my education to prepare me a little bit for the realities of finding a job in the market.
I think, I mean, this is just my opinion because I'm going to say that if you weren't prepared, I really wasn't. So,
Yeah.
but I think it prepared us to have more of a passion for it.
Oh, it certainly
Like,
did.
we love it. Like, obviously, this is a podcast about that.
Yeah.
About we're just talking about that kind of stuff all the time. So we have a genuine love and passion and criticism of the entire industrial complex that is animation and filmmaking in general. But we're not jaded by it, I guess. We still would really do our own projects and all this kind of stuff. We're not in the industry being like, life is pain, as I smoke my 15th cigarette.
Which I am very grateful for, because like I am a professional animator. I do that for my day job, but I do not work for a big studio that, like, you know, I remember in college watching, there was a documentary that was created about the working conditions at Disney. It's called The Sweatbox. And in that documentary, it's about the making of, like, we're in the Disney Renaissance. So I believe we're coming off the heels of, like, maybe the Little Mermaid, Aladdin, like around that time.
Yeah.
And it's interviewing
Was it
the people.
Hercules? Are they talking about Hercules?
I mean, I can't remember. It's around that time.
Yeah,
you know? But they're talking about, you know, their work-life balance and how they're just, you know, burning themselves out and hurting themselves for this. And Jeffrey Katzenberg crying and being like, we've got to find a better way. We've got to do, and then not changing at all.
Yeah.
Like, and that's kind of what the documentary is about. And that documentary did not receive wide release because it was too critical of Disney.
Who knew? Who knew?
And so that's like, that was talking about the conditions that were happening in the late 90s, early 2000s. And now fast forward to the present.
That is 23 years.
It's the same fucking shit. Like,
yep.
Only now are like serious attempts at unionizing, at maintaining a better work-life balance, about pushing back against crunch culture and burnout and all that stuff. Only now are those conversations starting to be had in earnest. But like, man, like any part of the animation industry, pretty grim. Like it's real shit thing to have young, talented people come in and then to exploit that enthusiasm and exploit that talent without considering their long-term health, without considering their career, without setting them up for future success. You know, I'm not saying anything new when it comes to this and saying that it sucks, but like, I'm very privileged and I'm very lucky that I'm able to do what I do and not experience that and not be part of that world.
Yeah. And I appreciate Adam's perspective, like, in the industry. I'm coming at it from, you know, obviously I didn't get like into, well, not obviously, I mean, you know this, but the people don't know this, but I did not get into that industry. I taught for a little bit. I taught art for a little bit. Like mainly like, and then I went to a subsection of being an instructor. I taught like cartooning, like professional cartooning and stuff like that. Cause I worked in a newspaper. I had, like a comic strip. I did a lot of comic strip stuff, but then I'm coming at it from, a more of a independent publisher type situation now, with my own comic and my own, you know, art, I guess, ambitions and whatnot. So Adam and I are kind of on the same wavelength, but we're coming at it from two different sides of the animation quote unquote industry, which is really interesting. Or just the art industry, because I would like to make animated things. I'm working on that, but doing stuff, you know, like on your own, obviously, it takes, it's different because it's a little easier, but it's a little harder because I have to learn digitally how to do stuff. Because if I had a whole setup, which we know how to build, like a little light studio setup, I could just do it and it would take me like 10 years to get out of film. If
you want to be a Richard Williams about it.
Yeah. Which wouldn't be bad, but I am not that good. But I still would like to, you know, keep practicing and get my hand in there instead of, you know, no, not instead, but also while doing my comic stuff. Because I always wanted to be a, you in the industry, I always wanted to be a storyboard artist. Because that's like comics. I was like, oh, it's like drawing comics all the time. And, you know, it's not like drawing comics all the time.
It's super
It is.
not.
Well, it is and it isn't, because if you've seen the storyboards for the first Avengers movie, it's literally a comic.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, with all of this, there's like a lot of cross-disciplinary,
like overlap. Yeah.
But yeah, storyboarding, I think, like, is pretty close to comics. Actually.
Yeah. And I mean, I still enjoy, like, I have so many art books. Like, I'm just looking at them right now.
Yeah.
I have so many art books that have, like, storyboards in them. And they, like, I'm like, oh, that's so cool. Oh, I would love to. That's what I like to do. Like, for my comic, I actually look at that kind of stuff because of motion and movement and
absolutely.
shot composition and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, man, this is gold. So, yeah, but anyway, the industry. With a capital I, the industry.
Yeah, which feels like we are segueing into the second question. An hour in, like.
Well, I kind of mentioned it. I feel like I mentioned it a little earlier, but now we're actually stepping like full step into it.
I know.
So
yeah,
and we were kind of talking about what I was going to ask you about. How do you feel about the expensive and time consuming part of stop motion? Because that is, you know, a huge thing about stop motion is you're making this stuff. You're actually making, this is material. It requires material. It requires rigging. It requires a lot of this kind of stuff that doesn't go away.
And like more than almost any other animation thing, something that makes stop motion really unique is that you never are entirely sure how they're pulling off any individual shot. And that what I mean by that is that what you'll often get are like vastly different scales, different perspective tricks, different rigs and puppets for each individual shot that's required. So the go-to example that I think is like so cool to talk about, Wes Anderson's Fantastic Mr. Fox, which is another movie that like is really dedicated to seeing the hand of the artist in the film, which I don't think I explicitly mentioned that, but that's something that's a huge value to me in stop motion in general. I think Tim Burton's Corpse Bride, too perfect, too smooth, might as well be CG. Like I don't like how precise and smooth everything is. I much prefer to have like a little chunkiness, a little bit of, you know, in Aardman animation, you see the fingerprints on the face. Claymation
has that sense of somebody touching it, somebody actually physically moving the stuff. You can see if you slow things down and you're actually looking for it, you can see where people touched it and moved it.
Yeah.
And they left it in there on purpose. They would leave that kind of stuff in there on purpose.
You know, we're really only talking about modern stop motion, and like historical stop motion could be, you know, a whole other episode.
The actual Ray Harryhausen shenanigans with like.
Right. But like the original King Kong, you know, famously, there is a reviewer who is like, the animation is so realistic that you can see the fur rippling in the wind. And it's like, no, it's not. That's the artist manipulating the puppet and moving things ever so slightly, ever so gently. But that's the hand of the artist making its way into the film.
Yeah.
All that stuff is great to me. And for Henry Selick's most recent stop motion film, Wendell and Wild, he very intentionally got what he wanted in Coraline, which is that all of the faces are 3D printed and are like these interchangeable like face plates that go on. It's really fascinating if you haven't seen it. I encourage you to look up behind the scenes stuff for everything that I'm talking about here. But when you do that, the face is made of two parts. It's the upper face, which is like, it's kind of bisected at the eye line. And you have the upper face, which handles the brows for that part of the expression. And then the lower face, which handles the mouth and the other moving parts. And he really likes to see that line.
The seams.
To see the
Yeah.
seam. He wants to show off that this is a physical puppet. And for Wendell and Wild, he got to keep that in. And so if you watch that movie, they all have this like weird line on their face, which your brain will begin to ignore immediately.
Yeah.
But that was just him wanting to see the hand of the artist.
Yeah. And it's a charming thing. Like in animation, like different styles of animation all have their charm to it. Especially like we talk about, we learn the traditional 2D way.
Yeah.
There's a charm to it. This is why like a lot of people still love those older quote unquote movies and stuff. Same thing with what you call it, stuff like the early Flash stuff, if that makes any sense.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, there's a certain charm to that.
There's a real jank to that is very specific.
Yeah, it's exactly. It's like more jank, but it's still like, oh man, that brings me back.
When I have done tradigital animation, which is a traditional animation process but drawn directly into the computer rather than onto a piece of paper, which is then scanned into a computer.
Yeah.
So when I've done tradigital animation, I almost always want to have like a rough pencil kind of looseness to the thing.
Yes.
And I'm always referencing 101 Dalmatians.
Yes, thank
which
you.
Famously, what they did for that movie was to save money. They didn't ink the film. They took the pencil lines and then they Xeroxed them in order to get a crisper,
thicker
line. And that creates like a real texture to it that I really love.
Man, I'm so glad you said that because that's one of my all-time favorite Disney movies. One of the reasons is because of how it looks.
It looks great.
It looks so raspy and almost ashy in a way, but that's so good to me. I'm like, oh man, it feels like it's so like rough.
It's got a tangible
but I love the roughness to it. Yeah.
Yeah. Wolf Walkers recently by Cartoon Saloon.
Who's another studio? We're talking about like the industry and the studios.
Yeah.
Man, them boys and girls over there.
Love
and all
them.
those people over there.
Doing amazing work. But their previous films were very crisp, very clean, almost vector in their quality. And they very intentionally loosened it up with Wolf Walkers, and they left a lot of the construction lines in, and there's like a rougher pencil quality to it, and I love all of that stuff. Not talking about stop motion, so bringing it back to stop motion to complete the sentence that I started earlier. One of my favorite examples is the Fantastic Mr. Fox, which is so committed to the tangible quality of it. So like there will be smoke. And it is like cotton clouds. It's pulled
actually cotton.
Like it's physically there. It's not composited in. It's not CGI. It's not a real filmed element that's composited. Like it's all tangible, stuffed. And it's got not a grunginess, but like a tactile quality to it that I find very appealing. Yeah. And one of my favorite things about it is that they would play with all of these. Every individual shot could have different puppets that are uniquely serving their function. So early in the film, there's a scene where
I think you know what you're going to talk about.
Yeah, you do. Of course you do. But there's the son and the cousin who are there, and they both jump into a pool. And the son, Ash, is an uncoordinated dipshit, and I love him. And the cousin is this, smooth, graceful, just goes in without a splash. But when Ash, this uncoordinated son who wants to be an athlete, jumps in, he's like, "Dad, check this out!" And he jumps in, and then there's a shot of him flailing in the background as he falls into the pool. So what they did is that in traditional animation, let's say Chuck Jones, There are a couple of ways that you can simulate motion blur, because motion blur is caused by a camera lens, and we're not dealing with a camera lens here.
Yeah.
But we want to simulate that feeling of speed and acceleration. And there's a couple different ways that you can do it. And one of them is called, I don't remember, is it called twinning? It's something like that.
Are you talking about what is happening in that actual scene?
Where
Because I think that's...
you'll frame by frame through like a Chuck Jones thing, and a character's hand will be moving very fast. And if you frame by frame it, there will be multiple hands. In that shot.
I think it's called doubling or twinning. I believe you're right.
I think I'm wrong, but it doesn't matter. The point is that if you pause it, like there will be multiple arms to show that. Due to the persistence of vision, the thing that our human brains do, we will read that as like more information, despite the fact that we're only seeing a single frame.
Yeah.
So the way that they replicated that idea in stop motion, which is a physical thing.
Yep.
They have a little puppet of this character jumping off from a tall place into a pool. And they gave that puppet extra limbs. He's got like 3 legs and 4 arms. And they're just having all of them
just flail
wave
about.
back and forth crazily. And they custom built that.
But it's so quick.
It's super quick. You don't really notice it. But like...
Yeah, but it's so quick.
What dedication to craft. Like, how fucking cool is that? They made a specific puppet for this specific scene, for this specific moment in order to replicate a kind of motion blur.
Yeah.
And you'll see that kind of thing in stop motion all the time, like close-up of hands. That's often a totally different model where they've constructed these special, unique hands that are for close-ups. Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio features Jiminy Cricket, who's at a totally different scale. And as a result, there are several basically like life-sized puppets of Pinocchio, so that you can have a puppet of Jiminy Cricket there in the appropriate scale.
I mean, if you want to talk scale, like Leica, going back to studios of Leica and what you call it?
This man is about to talk about the Kubo and the 2 strings of the giant skeleton.
Kubo and the 2 strings, and they basically built a giant skeleton for that one scene where Kubo is at normal size, and they're like, you know what? This is the biggest thing that we've.
It's crazy.
Off of the big head from one of their previous movies, Paranorman. There's a giant ghost head in there, which is also huge.
Also
they said that's our biggest thing, and then they upscaled it. Okay, now this is our biggest thing. This is our biggest rig that we have.
Yeah,
and it's amazing. It is amazing when you see it, because I think that's another like behind the scenes thing when you see them move it.
Yeah, that's the post credit sting that like shows them working it. And it's like the puppets are regular sized puppets, which are like 10 inches tall, like 10 to 12 inches tall.
Yeah, they're about 10 inches. Yeah.
They're the size of like a G.I. Joe. And the skeleton is like from the waist up, like this particular rig that we see them working with is only the skeleton from the waist up. And it's, I think, 15 feet tall.
Yeah, I was about to say 10 or 15 feet tall.
Yeah.
Because it's definitely big. It's like bigger than them.
It's huge.
Yeah. Or bigger than the artist, I should say. Bigger than the artist. But yeah.
So now they're bringing in elements of like, animatronics where they have these huge levers. And this is when they have like a big team of people who all have to be working to manipulate this giant thing.
Yeah.
Again, 1 frame at a time, in ultra slow motion. It's so cool. It's so cool.
Yeah, the scale, because that's another thing that you have to worry about, I guess, in stop motion is scale. Because in animation, it's all drawn. But you're building everything. Yeah, you have to worry about scale. You have to worry about close-ups. That's why, like, you were talking about, like, they have specific hands for close-up, or, they have specific faces for close-ups and stuff like that. Yep. Some of that stuff is huge, because they all know they're just going to shoot from, like, here up or something like that. They only know they're going to shoot, like, a bust of, like a character. Yep. So why would you have the camera zoomed all the way in when you could just build a bigger bust and have more more emotions and whatnot? And that kind of stuff. It's crazy.
It really is.
And you have to build all of it. Even if it's a scene that lasts only 2 seconds, you have to build all of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. You got it. Like, and there's no shortcuts. Like, you just got it. Well, we need this close up. So we got to totally reinvent the wheel and make something totally custom for this quick insert. But it is important. And so we just got to do it.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Quick, really quick, because I just want to add one thing really quick to what you just said is you have to reinvent the wheel. Because I've been watching, I did a little bit of research before this episode, and I've been looking at a lot of stuff, and we'll talk about a little bit of it in a little bit. But one thing that I noticed is that a lot of stop motion big projects, they literally reinvent something with each project, with each film that comes out. Leica has like several projects in the works right now. They have their normal project. They always have like 3 different things going on. They have a normal one for families, they have one for TV or something, and then they have one that they're working on for like live action adults. And I was like, whoa, what? Okay. But their next thing that they're working on, which is public knowledge, it's on the internet. They've just been working on it for a while. It's called Wildwood. I think it's based off a book. But I read a recent interview of the head guy of Leica Studios, and he said there's a scene in here where it's like a giant fantasy battle, and it's like the biggest thing that we've ever done in our life. So we're figuring that out, and I'm like, what are you guys doing? Like, they're just constantly figuring things out. I'm like, yeah. It's like
what you have to understand is that every character has to get that same level of detail and attention that we were talking about. And so there's a long take. There's like a one shot in Wendell and Wild, which is just like introducing you to all the characters. And it's this long shot of like just, walking through the school, and you meet 12 characters all unbroken. And that was such a flex. Like,
moving through a physical scene.
Like, people talk about one take action scenes all the time, and just like, God, how much work that has to be. Just that simple, like, social, like, hey, here's introducing some characters and they're talking to each other. Absolute flex to do that. And then like the boat fight in Kubo and the Two Strings.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Like, also absolutely next level. How are they going to do a giant battle? That doesn't even make fucking sense. That's crazy.
Like I said, I read it and the guy was like, we're figuring it out. I was like,
for real.
Okay. But I mean, their level of stuff is, I mean, we talk about like one of the most famous scenes, going back to Coraline real quick, of the how.
Yeah.
Is because we've always talked about this scene, and I think it's the piano scene. The dad playing the piano.
It's such a good shot. Yeah.
Like, how?
Yeah. Really, really impressive. Like, what it reminds me of is like, you see a sculpture, and it's like, it's a woman laying there with a cloth draped across her, and like the skin looks soft and the fabric feels like it's see-through. And then you go up and it's all carved out of wood. And it's just like, that's not how that's supposed to work. Like, how'd you do that? And it's just like, that's what like the entire medium feels like to me.
So, yes, the industry and how it looks right now is kind of... now, mind you, I think it's an awareness thing is good. People are actually starting to be a lot more aware of, wow, this sucks.
What?
This actually really sucks. No, like in the industry, like how things
just
are
like
right now.
working conditions?
Yeah, just working conditions and stuff.
Sure.
Everybody's like, ugh. I mean, as of right now, T-minus now, there are so many strikes going on across like the industry of. I mean, yeah, that's why I said I'm just relaying to the people in the time frame of what we're speaking on this stuff now. Yes, there are so many strike stuff going on across the industry of Hollywood in general.
The writer's strike's been going on for a few weeks. The actor's strike has been going on for about 2 weeks.
Yeah. People are just sick. People are just like, you know what? This does suck. And I'm like, good on you. Fran from The Nanny, she's like leader of like the union. she was going off. One of my all-time favorite actors is going off. Ron Perlman.
Ron Perlman's been throwing some mad shade.
Oh, he's always going off though. I'm so happy.
He's so like genuinely good. Fucking love Ron Perlman.
I love Ron Perlman. He's actually like
he also can adopt me.
Yeah,
I'll permit it.
Yes, I would fit into his family if he adopted me because he has a mixed daughter.
Hell yeah.
He's been married to the same woman. I'm pretty sure for like ever.
What a dude! God, so good.
He's awesome, and he looks like a disgruntled old man, but he actually is one of the funniest guys ever, too.
Oh, he's got a great sense of humor. Yeah, he's very funny.
Like, I still remember, quick aside, I know this is not the Ron Perlman show, but quick aside, I still remember, like, years ago when people wanted him to revisit Hellboy, the character of Hellboy, be Hellboy again. He's like, guys, I'm 70 fucking years old. I can't do that anymore.
You want to sit in a makeup chair for 7 hours a day?
Yeah.
No.
I mean, he did say, he's like, I love that role, but I can't do it anymore. Like, I actually physically can't.
Yeah. Incredibly demanding.
So, yeah, I just love that. I love that he said that. I was like, yes, I love this, but I can't. You guys are absolutely insane.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, so anyway, yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on right now, so it's a big shakeup, and animation is no different. There's a lot of big shakeup for just the demand that animators get on them. Now, I haven't really heard too much in the terms of the stop motion part of that, but I definitely have heard it in like just the realm of animation in general. And I'm assuming stop motion has like people in there. Now, mind you, I don't know too much about Leica Studios' work environment, but or Sound Machine. I mean, not Sound Machine, Shadow Machine, who did the work for like Pinocchio, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio.
Yeah.
So I don't know how their stuff is, but I know that big industrial guys, like for example, Phil Tippett, which if for people that don't know anything, like Phil Tippett is like, who the hell is that? He worked on so much stuff. He's an old head in the industry, and I'm talking like visual effects old head. Like he did stuff on RoboCop 2. He did stuff on, Jurassic Park and all this kind of stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Star Wars.
Yeah, Star Wars. Yeah, he did stuff on Star Wars. The old cat in the industry. Yeah. Very good. He used to work in the big place called Industrial Light and Magic that do a lot of that kind of visual effects and all that kind of stuff like that. He was like the guy there, and then he left to create his own studio, Tippett Studios, which is still alive and well today. He's doing all kinds of stuff and animation work and digital work too, because he was one of the guys that adapted really quickly to the scene, the industry, and he was able to transition pretty well
at the pivot point. He was like at the fulcrum of old VFX techniques and the digital revolution. Like he was right into the thick of that.
And it's amazing because he still, in my opinion, kept his roots. Like he still has it. Like which we'll talk about in like 2 seconds. The stop motion movie Mad God he made, and it's we'll get into that a little bit, but that's a testament to the fact that he's never lost it. He put his whole foot into that big project. So, but he's made countless, not countless, but a lot of comments about like the state of things now, and he's just like, unfortunately, he's like, well, what else is new type of thing. But a lot of old heads are saying the same thing. Is like the industry has always been like really type situation where,
Yeah.
they like to have the reins nice and tight. But now it's getting unhealthy in a very public sense. Like, even, as good as Spider-Verse was, they've had problems in that studio of, like, crunch time and everything.
Yeah.
And
just assume that when we gush about art, that we are aware of exploitative labor practices and don't
Yeah.
approve of those labor practices, while still being able to
yes.
appreciate the art that is made by supremely
People.
talented craftsmen.
Yeah, people. Like,
Yeah.
just... I feel bad when people are under the thumb of something else and they're forced to squeeze out their talent.
Yeah.
I mean, 9 times out of 10, usually that doesn't result in better work. That just results in faster work.
It
So-
often doesn't even do that. Like,
Yeah.
this is like the 4-day work week argument where, it's just like, oh, studies show that a 4-day work week is exactly as productive or more
Yeah.
productive than a 5-day work week. So obviously we should all do that, right? And then people are like, no, I want people to work hard for me. And it's just like, well, okay.
Yeah.
That's not really grounded in the data. That doesn't...
Yeah,
It
and also you
seems
can't
like
make
happier-
anybody do anything. I think
Happier
they're starting
workers
to...
are better workers, and they
Yeah.
give you a better product and save time in the end and money, and it's all upside for everyone
Mhm.
involved, but you just won't do it because...
That's how it's always done.
Yeah,
That's how
for-
it's always been.
for work culture reasons.
Yeah,
so
because
no, I don't-
when you lay out those things, and I've said this to people too, and we both talked about this. It's like when you lay out the benefits to the actual CEO moneymakers,
Yeah.
and then the argument is like, well, that's not how we used to do it. Basically, that's
Shut up.
But and change is hard, but this change is becoming necessary now. And I've always had this argument with anything is don't let the reins be ripped from you. Give them away. You will have a better relationship with who you're giving them to if you give them away. Don't have them ripped from you, because then the knowledge that you do have, nobody will take into consideration. And then the cycle or cycles will continue instead of being like, okay, I'm too old for this shit. Here you guys go. We're going to change some stuff. What do you think we should change? And yet people just want to keep holding on. Old Hollywood just wants to keep the executives want to keep like holding on. No, we want to squeeze the stuff out of it. So, yeah. But anyway, yeah. Yeah, all this is to say that, the industry is behind the scenes is rough, and it's probably kind of rough for the stop motion people too. But
Yeah, it certainly is. And like, that's not new.
yeah,
And we're not ringing the bell on a new fire. It's just the universal endless push for everyone to fight for better, more equitable working conditions, to fight for a better world, to fight for a more fair world. I will always be, ferociously supportive of that kind of thing. I'm firmly in the camp of workers' rights and better working conditions.
you should. Everybody should.
It's the
Everybody
easiest moral
wins.
choice in the fucking world.
Everybody wins. I mean, it's not easy, but everyone will win with some time and effort. So there you go. Speaking of time and effort, let's talk about Phil Tippett, who we've mentioned. His film from 2021, I believe, 2021.
Yeah, just
Mad
recently.
God, and the new pilot from 4 months ago, Hidari. It's a pilot.
Sure.
The stop motion pilot, the
Yes.
samurai stop motion pilot. So we're gonna talk about those two things, and then we're gonna round it out with just some cool old fan servicey, fanboing things.
Just talk about like
Cool
do a
stuff.
lightning round of stuff that we find cool or inspiring, and try
Yes.
not to get into the weeds as we have been.
Yeah. So I want to ask you, Adam. Mad God.
Yeah.
How'd you feel about that?
Okay. So I'm going to turn that around on you.
Oh.
Now,
no, you first.
in our Discord chat, you this was homework that you gave me, where it was just like, hey, we're going to be talking about stop motion. Have you seen Mad God? And I said, no, I hadn't seen it yet. And you were like, okay, well, you got to watch Mad God for this episode. And in here, I will quote, Mad God is your shit, LOL.
Yes.
And I want to know why you
gotta put me on blast like that.
I know, I'm very publicly putting you on blast.
No, I'm like, no, you're saying, why did you have to put me on, like, why did me, Corey, put you, Adam, on blast?
I know. I am now putting you, Corey, on blast. So, Corey, why did you see this movie and say, this is Adam's shit?
because Mad God is bleak as hell.
Yeah, correct.
And I was like, huh. And okay, context. Mad God is a 2021 stop motion actual film, entirely like hour and 40 minutes or something.
It's a feature length.
Yeah. It is 99 or 98% gross.
I'm going to say 100% gross.
Well, towards the end, it's not as gross.
There's one scene that has some contrast to it.
Yeah, but it's just, that's why I say, it's like, I never go 100% on anything. But that's just me. But anyway, yeah, you're right. It's gross. But it's also, there's a point, because I don't think it's a bad film. I think it's actually a very good film. It's actually a very well-made film, and there's a kind of beauty to it. But it is, man, if you are easily sick, I recommend this movie, but only if you're not very squeamish. And I'm talking not very squeamish at all, because it is gross.
It's extreme content, for sure.
Yes.
This is not for, it's for professional movie watchers.
Yes, yeah, that's a good way to put it.
It is an advanced degree in film. So
Yes.
the point where I asked you that question is, I need to be taken a little bit more seriously as a complete person. And just because you saw the bleakest movie that's ever been made doesn't mean that it's Adam's shit. Adam likes horror. I'm a more well-rounded person than just that. I am literally, as we speak, we are going to get off this call, and I am going to go see Barbie. And I am
that is not the bleakest shit ever.
I am hype as fuck for Barbie. And to be clear, I have been hype as fuck for Barbie since the first trailer. I love Bluey. I love all kinds of bright and colorful and fun things. I am more complicated than
I'm sorry,
liking.
dude. I was trying to be funny. In our Discord, I was just trying to be I know you are a complete person, considering you are constantly trying to tell me, hey, you need to watch Bluey. So obviously
Bluey slaps.
So
yes. Okay, stop. For real though. You gotta watch. It's season 3. I have 2 episodes that are like they are a sniper bullet to the heart for animators.
Okay.
Like
okay.
I watched these episodes of Bluey for the audience at home. The episodes are Unicorse and Puppet. And at the end of Puppet, the episode of Bluey, I was fucking clapping like a circus seal. I was losing my fucking mind over this children's show.
Jeez.
It was like genuinely like one of my favorite moments watching media of the last year.
Really?
Like, it was incredible shit. I was
I
losing
keep
my
hearing
mind.
things about Bluey, but yeah, that is.
So like if you're just going to watch like
Well, I've seen like one episode. I have seen like I think one episode. And it was the one where it was like the solar system one.
oh,
I
that
guess.
was wonderful.
Yeah, I didn't say it was bad. I was like, this episode
Well,
is
I
a
know
piece
it's
of
not.
shit. No, I was like, this is actually really good. This is
It's
actually
great.
cute.
Yeah.
This is actually cute, and I get the point. Like that's what surprised me because sometimes y'all, especially on the internet, you guys can be extra. So you guys, everybody's saying Bluey is the greatest thing ever, and they're our
great.
age. I'm like, okay, all right,
It's pretty
all right, I get you.
it's pretty appropriately rated in my opinion. Like people
Yeah.
I'm sure
I
there's
have
someone
to-
who's like Bluey's overrated. I'm like, I think it's appropriately rated. I think it is correctly identified as the best children's show
Like to
of
date.
the last 20 years easily.
Yeah,
like,
I was
can't
about to
think of
say
the-
20 years because it's definitely not the best because like I was talking with my one friend about this because I lied. I didn't watch just one episode. I watched like a couple of stuff. But everything I watched, I was like, huh, I'm pleasantly surprised by this.
It's delightful.
All of this is, yeah, exactly. I was like, oh, this is delightful.
Yeah.
And it's not super PBS condescending.
No, it's fucking smart.
Which
It's
is
smart and
fine
it's
if you're
human.
yeah, it's fine. It's because I think I know, and I think I know why I am seeing something like this because I'm like, we're at the age where we should be making this kind of content for our kids.
Oh, sure.
It's a different perspective looking not necessarily down, but looking out. And I was like, okay, I get it. So
It is a truly all ages show that anyone can
Yes.
enjoy. Like it's like I was recently on an airplane. In my in-flight movie, I chose Paddington 2, which is also
good
like
choice.
fucking great. Like
But
this
Paddington
is
2 is so delightful.
it's so delightful. Like kids are going to enjoy it obviously, but like as an adult, I'm like there's so much craft here. This script is tight.
Well, yeah,
Like-
they know what they're doing.
It's a visual feast. It's
And
sumptuous. Like
and
and that's
I-
how I feel about Bluey.
Yeah, and I appreciate that kind of filmmaking because I don't see a lot of it. And for me personally, that kind of filmmaking is what I wanted to do, especially when I was
Sure.
younger.
Yeah.
I wanted to make those kinds of films. I wanted to make stuff for like my nieces.
Mhm.
And yeah, sure, making, big sweeping stuff for like more adult themes and stuff and everything. That's always cool. But I never thought I was very good at it. But you know what I am good at? Making, little kids laugh, which is weird.
Sure.
But I can do it.
Oh, it's
So I'm like,
kids are easy. Like getting along with kids is as simple as yes and. Like
Well,
just go along with their stuff.
well, yeah.
Kids are dumb.
Well, here's the thing. Kids are easy, but kids are not. But kids do not take any shit.
No.
If you pander to kids, if you are condescending and think that you know what kids like, usually you are the person that they're not going to like. I've
Yep.
noticed that.
You
You
just got to get on their level.
Yeah.
Like you meet them where they're at.
Yeah. And some people that's harder for people to do than others. Me, I've always I like sometimes childish things. Well, I shouldn't say I like childish things, but I like things that are good at it. For example,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot of stuff that's good at it. And I see Bluey as that's good. Because you're not only talking, because it's like adults are writing this, but they're writing this for kids and not little kids. They're writing it for maybe 11 or 12-year-olds. And that's how I see this as. Because this is 11 or 12-year-olds that have siblings that are younger. And I'm like, that's smart. That's really smart because you're hitting everybody. You're hitting everybody in between. That's really good. And I saw that in Bluey, and there's only one other show that I can think of that I've seen it. Old show. And that is Arthur. And that's a long time ago.
Oh, sure.
But anyway, yeah, going back to Bad God, I don't think that is all you. I'm sorry. I was just making a joke. Like,
Okay.
that's why I put LOL, because I was just making a joke. Obviously, there's layers to it and everything, but
You throughout the history of this show, you have been like oh, Adam likes the fucked up shit. And it's like, of course I do. I like a monster. I like a thing,
Yeah.
but like, I do need more than just
Well,
bleakness.
Also, I've been making fun of myself too and saying I am the complete opposite of that, and I like dumbass shit so, all the time. So,
Bro, I've been chatting with friend of the show, Moon, and we have
yes,
had so many Transformers chats. We've been talking a lot about
I
Transformers.
want to get in. I want to get in on these chats.
You gotta, like, they're good chats. We're
Oh
having
man, I'm
great
probably
conversations.
gonna like piss Moon off in some cases, but I don't care.
Yeah, well, fuck them. Yeah, you hear that? How do you like
Like
me
and
now?
subscribe, please. like and subscribe,
bitch.
But yeah,
So, with that out of the way, let's engage honestly with Mad God, because Mad God is not my shit. It is a movie that's like cartoonishly bleak. But it is fascinating. It's something where it's like, this is the most qualified recommendation in the world to a very specific type of person. And that's the kind of person who's willing to go into media that's going to put him in a bad mood because it is just like absolutely relentlessly hopeless.
Well,
while
yeah.
also appreciate, like, being in love with the craft. Like, you can get a lot out of this if you go into it with the mindset that, like, this is not a narrative story. This is not meant to be taken literally. This is not meant to really derive that much more than the sensory experience. Like, what I was comparing this to was like, this is Dante's Inferno, where it's, you know, literally a tour of hell. This is Hieronymus Bosch, where it's just like all of these vignettes of suffering and bleakness. And like, there are parallels that you can draw to our real world, but I don't find them that like insightful or compelling. Like, it is a lot of just like extreme content, not necessarily just for shock value, because like, I think the thing that like I most came away from it, and I'm interested to see if you agree with me, that this was a film that Phil Tippett, as a human being, as the director of this film, is much more interested in making a film than having made a film. He cares about the process, not the product. Like, I think that honestly, he could have noodled away on this forever. And I'm shocked that it ever got released, because
30 years.
it
Took
was
30
made,
years. Yeah.
It was made over the course of 30 years.
Yeah, over the course of 30 years.
This is like a minor distinction that like I think that people intuitively understand, but it's not like this film is so complicated that it could only be done over the course of 30 years. What happened was, with the small amount, I really wasn't able to find that much context around it. I found a few interviews with Phil Tippett. I found a few behind the scenes stuff, but not that much. And overwhelmingly, like, the sense that I got was like, he's to pick this up as something that he wanted to do in his spare time around the making of, I think it was RoboCop 2.
It was RoboCop 2, yeah.
So he's making this before the digital revolution. And this is him basically just giving his nightmares life, right? Like, putting his fears and anxiety and treating this like almost as a therapy, just putting out his negative emotions into a physical, tangible thing and turning it into his art. And I respect that. I respect that process. But then the digital revolution happened, and he was like, well, no one's going to be interested in this. And he shelved it for like 20 years. And then he came back to it, you know, I don't know, like 2010 or so. And had people looking at this old archival footage being like, oh, you should do more of this. And he was like, yeah, I should. And then he just slowly noodled on it and just like, you know, talking about dropping a marker there. Everything cool? I heard some background.
Oh, yeah, sorry, that was outside. Yeah.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah.
Like, something that I saw in his behind the scenes was him talking about how he's really not doing that much of the animation. What's happening is that there are schools with young students who are bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, who want to get some experience, who want to be part of the process, and he invites them in and finds tasks that suit them, whether it's the puppet creation, whether it's the environmental design, whether it's the actual animation. And he wants to get them involved. He wants to get them experience. He wants to let them be a part of the process. And I think that's super cool. I think that's super worthy as a goal. What I don't think it is it's a coherent vision of a total work. Like, it feels very much, I feel that patchwork quality to it. It's almost like a collection of vignettes more than a coherent story. And even on like a metaphorical or allegorical or emotional level, like, I don't think there's a ton of connective tissue. And this is not me, you know, being afraid of anything that deviates from a standard 3-act structure. You know, I've talked about the video game Signalis, which is one of my favorite horror games of the last few years. And that game has a very abstract, loosey-goosey, dreamlike world that's not entirely unlike this. But it feels like there's considerably more of an idea and intention there that's being communicated through this dream logic, rather than here where it's like, this is purely a walkthrough of a nightmare, complete with, you know, the feeling of unreality and the feeling of pointlessness to it. I think it is a really interesting artifact. I don't know if it's a good movie. It's actually really funny because, like, just the other week, I watched Wes Anderson's Asteroid City, which similarly completely defies my traditional movie evaluation. It's like, oh, was that movie good? It's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you.
Your results may vary type situation.
It's absolutely the most your mileage may vary thing that I can
that's
think
what I
of.
meant. Man, what did I say?
You said your results may vary, which that's the same thing.
I was meant to say your mileage may vary. I'm sorry.
You said it good. You did fine. You did fine. But like, yeah, like, is it good? I have no idea. I enjoyed it. I thought it was very funny. I laughed a lot and I had a good time in the theater, but as like a complete work, as a piece of art that's like trying to impart a message, I have no idea. Like, it's I can say that, like, my one coworker whose like favorite movie is Swiss Army Man, and he loves The Lobster, and he just like wants all of his art to be just absolute weirdo shit. Like, he's gonna be feasting on Asteroid City.
That's good. You got people like that, and they're artists in their own right too, and that's great.
And it's awesome that, like, we have a couple mainstream directors who are able to create
to do that,
weirdo stuff and have it find an audience. Like, I'm thrilled by that. And yeah, like, same with Mad God. Like, is it good? Man, I don't know. Like, that's the wrong word for it. That's the wrong question.
Yeah. Okay, so I kind of cheated a little bit. I watched Mad God with commentary on.
Whoa!
And commentary from not only Phil Tippett, but also Guillermo del Toro.
Yo, where can I find this?
It's on YouTube. It's on YouTube.
The whole movie is on YouTube?
The whole movie of them talking is on YouTube.
What the fuck?
Yes. And I watched it.
You're listening to me get my mind blown in real time.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It solidifies the case, and this is just me speaking, it solidifies the case that I still love Guillermo del Toro. He is a weirdo.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And you could tell by how he's fawning over this movie, Mad God. And for a reason. Like,
totally.
The one thing that Phil does say about this that you mentioned is this movie is not for everyone.
Oh,
because when he promoted this, like, you know, it's funny because this, you know, even stop motion has that animation like sweat on it of it's stop motion, it's animation, it's for kids. This has to be fine. It's for kids. So they had an incident where this mother, he was talking about this mother took in like her two kids to see this, and he was like, I'm warning you, this is not, and she's like, ow. And then like 5-10 minutes into the movie, she was like, got up and took her kids out, and he's like, and she's like, you were right. As she was walking, he's like, and guess what, it gets worse. That's what he said. He's like, guess what, it gets worse.
Yeah,
and he's like,
way worse.
so he's went out of his way to say this movie is definitely not for everyone. Even if you love animation, it's still not for everyone. It's a hard watch. But
very much so.
Like you were saying, you kind of got an idea of how he was feeling because like listening to him and him explaining it, and obviously you have to go watch it, you know, the stuff yourself, like listen to him talk about it. But he's like, yeah, this movie kind of took over my life a little bit because as it went, it got worse for me because obviously this is like how I was feeling. It was like more of a, you know, like a, you know, him breathing out how his feelings and his inner turmoil and stuff like that. It's a real
expression of the id. Like this is the subconscious being projected.
Yeah, and basically, I mean, and I kind of figured this out when I watched it the first time, but you know, the whole movie is about death and rebirth. So I was like, okay, I understand. I kind of get what's happening. But and that's just how he was thinking, because believe it or not, it's very existential and everything. And that's part of the reason why Guillermo del Toro was going crazy. He's like, oh man, I got it. It's so good. I feel this. And I was like, you know, in his classic like accent, it's like, I really feel this, and I love how you did this, and that's how I feel about Frankenstein. And I'm like, because he loves Frankenstein. But
why can't we just get a fucking straightforward adaptation of Frankenstein?
Well, his next
it's
thing,
so crazy.
He really wants to just do Mountains of Madness.
Yes,
so
please.
I think he mentions that in the commentary that he wants to do something like, he still wants to do that. So that is going to be his next probably big thing. But yeah, they were just talking back and forth about his process and the fact that, it just started out as like, oh, this was just a thing. And then some people saw it and they're like, oh man, this is awesome. And he's like, yeah, you think? And then he started working on it. And it was definitely like a thing where it kind of ruined him after this. Like after he made it, he was like, I don't want to do anything else for a while.
I can't imagine the post-project depression from something like this.
Yeah, he's like, I went into therapy, and he's like, I was just numb for a while because I had like nothing after it. And I was like, oh man. But this was his thing. Yeah. He got it all out of him type thing. And that's why I'm like, this is a fascinating movie to listen to the commentary about. But it's also like a one watch type of film. You watch it once and you're like, I got it. And because I watched it and I was like, yes, I did think like Adam might like this more than I will. Because he might see more nuance and all this kind of stuff and everything like that. But you know, even that, I did think that even then you still might not be too into it because of its like, a lot of it might seem very gratuitous to you.
Yeah.
And I know you are very about specificity. So if it has no place, get it out of here.
I know.
I mean, that's not a harp on you. That is something that I struggle with. So I'm like, you at least have that. So
I've loosened up a little bit, but in college, like the mantra that I would always repeat was like, if it's not additive, it's subtractive. Like,
oh yeah.
I don't want a scene that doesn't add up to anything in the grander picture. I want everything to work in concert towards a single goal. So, you know, what I was advocating for was Paddington 2. What I was advocating for was Edgar Wright films. You know, those beautiful, intricate Swiss watch movies
that you don't think makes sense, but actually in the grand scheme of things are like tight. So like that was like very firmly my value in college. I've loosened up a little bit. Like honestly, the thing that like broke me of that was Studio Ghibli films. Where I'm just like, it likes to wander a little bit and lets you sit in the world for a while.
It lets you marinate in the vibes in a way that like feels very additive. Like,
absolutely.
So that like really challenged my preconceptions.
Of not having the grip so tight on that kind of philosophy.
Yeah,
basically.
And that's, you know, that happened years ago now, but like that's a major difference between how I talk about movies now versus when we were in college.
Yeah. Me, I went the opposite direction. I started to become
Right.
like more, like, man, I need a little bit more structure. Everything can't just be chaotic, because then I started looking at the old like Looney Tunes stuff and how that's actually very structured.
Really tight.
It's
really
very tight. The jokes are on point for a reason. And I was like, wow, there's actually some, balance in this chaos. I need to tighten up type thing. So need to clench up. But anyway, Mad God. So we kind of both feel the same way about Mad God then.
Okay.
All
yeah,
right.
pretty close.
Yeah.
As far as structure goes, like the one of the lines from the interview that like really stood out to me was him complaining about like studio structures and like the tight hand that they've got on it. And I think that it's valid for him to push back against that and for want to have something that's more chaotic, that's more, but again, like that's very much about like the process. Like he cares about making the film rather than what kind of comes out at the end as much. And it's unusual to have someone who's so focused on process. Part of the way that I talk about this is like there's the difference between someone who wants to write a book and someone who wants to have written a book. And the person who wants to have written a book is someone who wants to get their hand shaken and they want to go to book signings and they want to get interviews and they want to have a movie adaptation of whatever it is. And they're thinking about all the stuff that isn't the work, versus someone who wants to write a book is someone who wants to sit down and actually do it, who wants to do the problem solving, who wants to break the story, who wants to get involved with it. And then like, obviously, is going to care about what they make, but like is passionate about the work itself.
Doing it. Yeah.
And Phil Tippett is 100% the polar opposite of that to me, where he cares so much about doing just the work that like I genuinely feel that it's just like, oh, Mad God is coming out. How are you going to promote it? And he's like, I never thought that far. I don't know what to do now that I'm here. I didn't expect to get here.
And you know what, though? There are lots of people like that, and there are lots of directors like that are just into making it, and they don't necessarily care how people receive it afterwards.
I think it's pretty rare. Like there are a couple like big names who do that, but I think that it's a mindset that you can really only have if you have already had success and now have enough trust to be given, a free rein.
Yeah. I agree with that. That makes sense. So yeah, and then there's like, we're winding down a little bit, so we're just gonna get into enough of like, Mad God and how like the process can break you. Let's talk about Hidari and some of our cool stuff in stop motion.
Hidari is on the forefront of like cool new exciting stuff that's happening in stop motion. So largely, as far as the medium is concerned, there is a little bit of Alexander wept for there were no more worlds to conquer. Like the level of sophistication that we've gotten here has rendered most things that you want to do in stop motion as solvable problems. Like the fact that Laika is now being like, yeah, we're going to do a massive battle. And that's the next frontier that we see. It's just like, damn, like you guys have gotten so comfortable with making movies that now you have to like
not only a battle,
problems.
but a fantasy battle.
Yeah.
All in stop motion.
That's wild to me. But like what that means is that for everything that isn't a giant fantasy battle, like they feel comfortable. They feel like they're not they're creating new ways to challenge themselves, to push themselves out of their comfort zone. Hidari took that in a different direction, which is very cool and exciting, which is more playing with the medium. So talking about, this is kind of a companion to talking about claymation or other things where it's like people getting into the medium itself and playing around in the mud and just seeing what happens. So if you don't have context, Hidari is you described it as a pilot, which I think is correct.
There's only a 5-6 minute pilot out right now.
They created a short film of basically a badass samurai anime inspired fight scene. Heavy emphasis on anime inspired, where it's taking a lot of cues from the camera angles, the kinesthetic quality, the rhythm and flow of anime fight scenes versus something that's more traditional. And it looks and I'm sorry. The most important thing is that everything is
made of wood.
Shot practically. So again, similar to Leica, where they want to film all of the elements and then composite them, but they want everything to be real and tangible. And everything that is real and tangible is made of wood. These are all hand-carved wooden puppets now being made into stop motion. And it looks really fascinating.
It looks fantastic. Me watching it as a action composition martial arts cinephile-esque person, I was gushing the entire time. I'm like, I wish I would have thought of that. I wish I would have thought of that. That's so cool.
It's so great.
That shot itself, when the cat just hit the thing, the button, and it pops out. Pew, I was like, I literally sat there and was like, that shot in itself is so cool.
It's so cool.
So
what it feels is it's very much similar to the Spider-Verse thing that we're talking about constantly, where it's like, okay, we've solved photorealism in animation. We know how to do that. That's not a new frontier. Now the next frontier is stylized. It's to take that reality that we've worked so hard and then break it with intention. And that's what is happening here with stop motion, where they are taking the actual form in the medium and they are stretching the possibility space. They're really pushing what they can do with the camera. They're really pushing what they can do with the geometry. They're really pushing what they can do with motion lines and it's real cool. It's real badass.
It's very stylish. Very stylish.
And something that I love is that on the YouTube channel, not only do they have the full animated short, but they also have the I don't know what you call it, the animatic version of it.
The animatic part.
They have a rough version where they leave in all of the structure, all of the supports, all of the green screen, and it really shows you, all of the specific stuff that goes into making it. And that is my shit. I love seeing that.
It was very impressive.
It's really impressive. It looks super cool. And they released the short film with the launch of a Kickstarter, which they did fund. They didn't make as much money as I would like, but they've got a good
which is unfortunate.
They've got a good little seed. They got a lot of positive word of mouth, and I hope that they are able to take that and turn that into future successes, because I really want to see more stuff in this style. It's a really exciting direction to take stop motion.
Yeah, and that's relatively new too, so it looks really awesome.
Yeah, very new. Just a couple months. So if this is your first time hearing about that, I implore you to go look up Hidari, which is, I believe, Hidari.
Yes, that is correct.
Go check that out on YouTube. It's 5 minutes long, and it is badass.
Yeah, and I'm glad more and more people are looking at it and being like, "This is badass." I'm like, yes. Stop motion is still cool.
Yeah, that's the thing. Stop motion never stopped being cool.
So anyway, real quick, lightning round. Give me two favorites. Give me two favorites.
Two favorites.
Mine is Chicken Run and James the Giant Peach. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Monkey Bone. Yeah.
Classic Monkey Bone. I think I want to give, answers that like might not be super familiar.
No, that's fine. Mark Twain.
Moral Oral.
Oh, Moral Oral.
Is,
okay.
An Adult Swim show that's showrunner Dino Stamatopoulos. I believe,
yes.
Starburns in Community, if you're unfamiliar. But that was an Adult Swim stop motion animated show that really walked so that modern shows like Rick and Morty could run. It was really a pioneer on the adult animation scene. And I watched that fairly recently, and I thought that it held up like really surprisingly well. There's some really interesting stuff there.
Yeah.
So if you've never seen that, maybe consider giving that a watch. The first couple episodes don't present themselves great. Like
it takes a while to get going, but
it takes like halfway through the first season, and the first season is short. So like episode 3 or 4, it starts getting good. But then it really like becomes complicated and nuanced in a way that I really appreciated. So I thought that was real good. And then I'm going to give a shout out to Missing Link by Laika.
Oh, yeah.
As the only movie, the only media with Bigfoot in it that I will tolerate. I fucking hate Bigfoot. Bigfoot sucks. Worst cryptid.
Wow.
Missing Link is good. So the level it has to clear to get past my anti-Bigfoot senses is pretty high.
You haven't read De-Evolution, dude?
I don't give a shit. If it's about Bigfoot, I don't give a fuck.
Wow. Hater.
I hate Bigfoot. Bigfoot sucks.
I hate Bigfoot. Bigfoot sucks.
And then the other last one I'll throw out was Marcel, the Shell with Shoes On.
I knew you were going to say that. That is a very cute movie.
I didn't even realize it was stop motion until basically seeing it.
Yep, and A24. Because A24 needs to do some family stuff. They are putting their ass in everything. I swear.
I know. A24 is doing damn good work. And also, we talked briefly about the writer strike and actor strike. Mm-hmm. As a studio, A24 simply said, yes, we agree to all terms.
Yeah, they just did it. They just did it.
Yeah, so A24 Productions are allowed to continue because they have agreed.
Yep.
They don't, so hell yeah, fuck yeah. Great job, A24, leading the industry, doing good work.
Yeah.
I salute you.
Yep. New York based. Let's go NYC. They're based in New York City. Let's go.
Bro, I can't emphasize enough that they are based.
Yeah, they are. A24 is weird, but they are based. They are straight up weird people, but they are based.
Based in New York City.
Based. But, okay, so that is some good stuff. That is some really good stuff. I gave out a couple of them. Yes, I did say Chicken Run and James and the Giant Peach, but I also like The Little Prince, a little movie on Netflix that came out like years ago. I also said The Wrong Trousers, but I also said, I'm surprised you didn't say Fantastic Planet, dude. So
I've never seen Fantastic Planet.
Oh, watch that shit. While High.
Oh, wait, no, I did see that.
I was going to say, like...
Yeah, that's not stop motion, though.
It has stop motion in it. It has, like, some iconic stop motion in it. It's not completely stop motion. I mean, if I wanted to go there, if I wanted to go weird, I'd just say Adventures of Mark Twain, which I also thought you were going to say.
Yeah.
So...
I mean, the just look up the scene with Lucifer, because it is genuinely haunting, bizarre shit that, like, is the only time that actual claymation, has been used to its full potential, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it makes it to full effect. So yeah,
that is genuinely unsettling shit.
Yeah. Bonus round.
I
always wanted to make when I was younger, I always wanted to make a TV show completely in stop motion called Natasha Irons Genius of Steel, a superhero stop motion show. And I was like, I can do it. It would look like Coraline, like a little bit like Coraline, but it would be a superhero show. And it's like Natasha Irons, who's like the niece of Steel and everything. I was like, oh man, that's so cool. And then Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur ruined everything. It ruined my dreams, and I love it.
Ruined it.
It ruined my dreams. It came out and it's so fucking good. And I'm like, I can't.
I still gotta see it.
Oh, you're lame.
My lord.
Cringe.
It's
Cringe
so
activated.
Fucking good.
Cringe activated.
Speaking of like Marvel stuff, wasn't that MODOK show?
Yes,
stop motion?
that was stop motion. It didn't last very
I
long.
didn't see it.
It's
but,
not bad.
like,
I like Patton Oswalt though. If you like Patton Oswalt, then you probably think it's good.
Yeah.
But you know, it didn't last very long because Disney. But you know,
Do you know what did last long though? This episode.
yeah, boy. Sorry.
I am in the recording booth and I am fucking sweating like a pig. I gotta get out of here so I can see Barbie.
Bobby. Shrimp on the Bobby.
I'm going to throw shrimp on her.
Okay.
I'm getting arrested tonight. Let's go.
Close out. If you have any questions or comments or, you know, general suggestions and for topics and stuff, send us an email, please, at halftonetakes@gmail.com. And we want to thank you guys for listening, sticking with us this long. You know, please, if you are listening on any like platform or anything, Apple Podcasts, Podcast Addict, or wherever you listen, please like and subscribe. Leave us a comment. Show us some love.
Give us a rating and review.
Yeah, rating and review. I keep forgetting to say that. But
we
yes.
do not advertise this show, so word of mouth is the only way that we
and
get
check out
new
our
listeners.
Instagram. Yes, check out our Instagram also at
new
halftonetakes at Instagram.com. So I almost said your line. I have been Adam Buteri. I am not. I'm a game designer and animator. No, I am Corey Revis, illustrator and comic creator. You can find me on Instagram at EARTHUR_ONE. That's one. So Earther1. You can find me on Instagram. That's all I'm doing right now. And check out my comic, Dawn of Time, on Webtoons.
I am not Corey Revis yet.
The melding will begin soon.
The melding will begin. All flesh will be slurried into.
All flesh will be Adam.
Phil Tippett's Mad God has told me that this is possible. I'm drunk with power. I am an animator and game designer. You can find my tabletop games at boocherry.itch.io. That is boo like ghost, cherry like fruit.
Yum.
Yum, 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 yum. All right.
Yes.
I need to leave and get arrested.
Good show.
Full of shrimp and a heart full of hate. Let's go.
Yes, open the Haterade stand once again.
It's fantastic.